storyteller. He is an improviser and performer here at Go Comedy. Please welcome Alex Suriano.
So when I first heard that the topic was admirer, my first thought was secret admirer, and it reminded me of what happened to me this Valentine's Day. A little backstory about how I feel about Valentine's Day. I've never had a romantic woman. Valentine's is usually my mother. And even she's kind of like, I'm tired of sending you cards, find somebody. Just kidding, she loves sending cards, it's not factual. And also, it was the first Valentine's Day after I came out. So it was a big deal for me, because I was like, yes, I'm going to finally find someone, it's been great. I did it, but I actually come out about a year ago to my family, and it went well. I did it on Father's Day because my dad thinks he gets another day. Thank you, God, I'm taking this one too. And it went well, and they're really supportive, and I think it's because I didn't go with my first option, which was a card that said, Happy Father's Day, you're not the only man I've called Daddy. So, beyond that, the story. And it's February 13th, I'm sitting at home alone, or sitting at home with friends. I get a text from an unknown number. I don't know about you, but when I get a text from an unknown number, I become a one-man CSI. I will find out who this is, no matter what it takes. I am checking Google, I'm checking Facebook, I'm texting every friend I know, do you know this number? I'm pulling a Ouija board, ask the spirits, nothing. Nobody knows who this is. So I'm trying to be coy and just play it cool and see if I can get it in the natural flow of conversation who this is. They're giving me nothing, like, hey, how's it going? Like, what are you up to? Like, oh, same old, nothing. So I came, I'm like, who is this? She's like, it's a surprise. And I'm like, this is it. I don't know if it's been positive or just preemptively drinking for Valentine's Day. But I'm like, this is a secret admirer, this would be such a cute story. I can't wait to tell her at her wedding, because that's the level of crazy I operate. Is one text message and we are married. So I go to bed thinking this is going to be some cute love story, it's going to be great. I wake up the next day, I get a text message from a number named aptly Mystery. That's all I have on my phone, is just Mystery. And I get a text from them saying, Happy Ash Wednesday. So now I think my future husband is either really religious or has a flippant sense of humor like me. It was the latter, and it worked out. But they still won't tell me who they are. I'm texting them, begging, like, just give me a hint, give me anything, nothing. And so I get to work, I'm still texting, and I get a text from a second unknown number saying, Happy Ash Wednesday. And now I'm starting to get to this point, I'm like, shit, I'm just being trolled, I'm being catfished, this is no longer fun. And so they still won't tell me who they are. The day goes on, they aren't telling me. I get a text from a third, a fourth, and a fifth unknown number of Happy Ash Wednesday. At this point, I'm like, who is pranking me? What message board am I on? That someone put my phone numbers like, text this guy Happy Ash Wednesday. So now I'm like, shit, I'm going to change my number, what the hell is going on? And I get a 6, a 7, and 8. At this point, I'm like, these are too consistent. This is one crazy person. This is a singular crazy person trying to mess with my life. I'm calling my best friend at this point, like, something is going on, I'm in fatal attraction, I'm going to find a dead animal on my porch, I don't know what's going on. And as I'm on the phone with her, I get an email notification. I check. It's from an email address that has my name in it. It's asoriano@gmail.com. It's not my email address, but very much my name. The email just says, Happy Ash Wednesday. At this point, I'm 100% certain I'm getting axe murdered. This is my last day. It's done. I had a good run. This is it. Like, karma is getting me. I don't know what I did. But I'm driving. I get home. I look at the car. There's nothing there. I go inside. Nobody's there. And I'm like, cool. At least you get to go to sketch class tonight. So I go to sketch class and like, thank you for being my friends. I love you all so much. This is my last time I'll be here. I'm getting axe murdered tonight. Please still use my sketches for the show. In my memory. Thank you. I'm freaking out, because I'm still getting an email like once an hour, Happy Ash Wednesday, Happy Ash Wednesday. Will not tell me. So I'm like getting ready to leave sketch class, and I get a text from like Mystery 7. They're like, do you want to know who this is? I'm like, fuck yes, please tell me, I need to know who's going to kill me later. I'm dying to know, literally. So I get a YouTube link. I open the YouTube link, my screen goes black. There's a voice, like the voice of Satan, just modified to shit. It's just like, hello, Alex. I bet you're wondering who this is. I bet you wonder who's been making fun of you all day. And I'm like, yes, just tell me. The screen comes up, and it's none other than my friend Annie Quill. The biggest troll I know. And I'm relieved because I'm like, she lives in South Carolina, I'm not getting ex-murdered until she comes over. We're good. But I'm emotionally just mad at myself that I didn't see this coming. Because when I got that first text, she was one of the people I asked, like, is this you? What are you doing? What's going on? She's like, no, I have no idea. I'm just getting dinner with a friend. This isn't me. And I believed her because I'm a fool. The other reason I should have known is because, like, I should have known because the title of the video, the YouTube video, was Happy Anniversary. And you're all on my side right now, but the story is about a year ago, on Valentine's Day 2017, I pranked her in a very similar way. And so this was just karma. I was relieved I'm not dying, and I figured out that I didn't have the soulmate at the end of this, but I did find my trollmate, just someone who was that committed to being a prankster and just taking it to the next level, and just pranking. So we've since committed a truce where we no longer work against each other, but just together towards other people, and I just pray for them that they're going to be okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Our next storyteller hosts precisely 27 comedy shows around the Detroit area. Just to name a couple, he hosts The Comfort Zone, which is a storytelling night like this. It happens at Trixie's in Hamtramck. And next week, he's hosting a show called Netflix Special at Jeans Vintage in Hamtramck. Please welcome Jason Brent.
Thank you guys, so nice of you. I tested my I'm going to talk about in winter on Tuesday, and as I told a group of people that I admire people who don't notice anything, people in winter got really offended by that. So I was like, I'm right, because you guys didn't notice. It's not an insult to not notice anything. You guys just you have a much easier time if you don't notice every single thing happening all the time. You're not prone to oversharing. You're not going to start that topic off with, I was just in Chicago for a funeral, and boy is my aunt still dead. It's like it was a funeral, you know, you just go and you go home, maybe you fix that. That's it. No, I couldn't do that. I was like, this is my aunt's second funeral. I'm the only one in the family that's noticed that. There's a Baptist service. First one was Catholic, so that first one was boring. This Baptist funeral, it's like we're all just celebrating the life of a person. There's a choir, and they're so good and like powerful that their voices are rattling the walls. No instruments are going, just voices. I'm like, this is amazing. Then you go to the Catholic one, like at this point we just be kneeling again, and no one's ever sure why. So of course, my aunt had to die first to get 2 funerals. My dad gave me a call one day. He said, we gotta go to Chicago to give the hospital permission to take her off life support. And I was like, did you notice that there's really not much paperwork to do that? He did. It's really just a couple lines on some pages. It's like, you want to come do this? I'm like, I'd love to experience it, sure. We finally get to the hospital. I'm like, this is the Catholic hospital, so now I'm imagining this paperwork's getting filed in a cabinet where miracles aren't real. We step out of the elevator to the floor my aunt was on. The first time, I was the only one that noticed it. It just said, shh, people are healing. And I was like, well, not everybody, right? We gave the doctors the miracles aren't real paperwork. They had to work like unhooking the life support stuff, and I was also the only one who noticed that when you're watching that happen to someone you love or just someone you know in general, you really just expect them to just die. That's what movies are like, and that's a way better way to do it, because what actually happened Because now it's just me and my dad and some relatives we haven't really seen since the 90s. Just trying to have that normal hospital visit while not making it obvious that we're just watching her chest go up and down just to see if it's gonna keep going. It did. When you're in the room like that, the doctors still have to come in and out, pushing buttons. And you know that they normally tell you what the buttons do and how it's gonna help. I swear they just shrugged as they were leaving the room at this point. Finally, one of them was like, "Do you guys need anything?" And we all just looked at each other. I was like, "Well, I guess we could like use some more things to talk about. How about that?" After like 7 more times of that, I was like, "Hey, can you just like tell us how much longer this is gonna be? Because we've only got the hotel for one night, and if we have to take Monday off, we will." But no one knows how to phrase that question because we're all trying not to look like horrible people. Eventually, we just called it ourselves. We're like, it's been 36 hours. This is clearly not happening. She's just asleep, snoring on drugs, so she doesn't even notice that we left. I'd like to say there's an ending to that part of the story, but there really isn't, because we just went home and like 6 days went by, and we got a phone call. We're like, oh, all right. We didn't do funeral number 1 right away. We had to do my dad's wedding first. Nice dichotomy going there. My new stepfamily's great. They're people, they don't notice things. Wedding happens, we're at the reception, and my new stepsister walks up to me. She's like, "Isn't it weird to get a stepsister in your 30s? I was like, no, because maybe you should have noticed that our parents dated for 3 years and we don't hang out, so nothing changed for you and me today. I thought it would be weird if she asked me to watch her kids now that my label's stepbrother instead of, I think that's the son of the guy my mom's dating." The very next day was funeral number 1, and yeah, I'm not going to go in again how boring it was. I did notice at the funeral that my godmother said, "You should help your dad get back to church more." I'm like, "You're my godmother." Their relationship doesn't work that way. Because I don't go either unless you're in town. Or there's a funeral. I gotta say, now we're planning a 3rd funeral, and I'm the only one in my family that's noticed that so far. And we didn't even like this aunt. The last time we saw her like alive was like 6 months before this, at her husband's funeral, and then before that, 4 years at my mom's funeral. And before that was like, I don't know, 1992? I don't know. It's a fun part of my life right now, realizing that the only reason we get together anymore is because someone died. Because when I was little, the only whole point of getting together was to hang out with Grandma. And then we ran out of grandmas and we stopped hanging out. I know there's been a lot of talk about death for the last 6-ish minutes. I want to assure everybody here that, yes, I am okay. I mean, like, if we count up, I've had 5 people die in the last year, like 8 funerals if we count the bonus ones my aunt's getting. But, you know, like, I don't really think about dark stuff that often. I just think it's interesting. Because I notice everything and I can't help it. But I just want to assure you guys that, like, I'm not going to kill myself after this, but, like, I do still have a suicide note in my pocket. It just says, "Avenge me." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. It's fun watching people laugh at things they don't want to laugh at. Okay, so far, we have drunken fools, trolls, and people who don't notice anything. That's who we admire so far. Let's see what's next. Our next storyteller is an improviser with the improv troupe Lady Parts Detroit. Please welcome Sarah Constantakis. I've seen Bon Jovi in concert 23 times. I guess you could say I'm a super fan. My first Bon Jovi concert was in 1993 at the outdoor amphitheater that was then known as Pine Knob. I was 16 years old. My friend Kim had just gotten her driver's license and she wanted to drive our group of friends to the concert in her teal Ford Ranger, very 1990s. However, my dad did not approve of me riding in a car with a newly licensed driver. So he drove me and my friends to the concert, waited for us in the parking lot till it was over, and drove us home. Thankfully, that was the only Bon Jovi concert that I went to that was chaperoned by an adult, by my parents, actually. Kim and I went on to see Bon Jovi 23 more times over the next 25 years, mostly in the Detroit area, at the Palace and Joe Louis Arena and Ford Field, but we also traveled to see them in Mount Pleasant, Grand Rapids, Cleveland, and we even once went to a special hometown engagement in their home state of New Jersey in 2007. That concert experience held the top spot in our Bon Jovi memories until a concert we went to this past April. When my friends and I first got into Bon Jovi, we were 16-year-old girls. And because we were 16-year-old girls, we fell head over heels in love with the band's charismatic lead singer, Jon Bon Jovi. Our fandom didn't start until the 90s, so we never got to see him in those 80s hair band days when his hair was long and luxurious, as some of you might remember. So we didn't get to see the shows of that era, but had we been of that era, we probably would have been just in love with him. Our crush continued to develop over the years, and the draw of the concerts was not just the music, but John's stage presence. His dancing, his gyrating, his tight leather pants. I don't know if you guys have seen Jon Bon Jovi. It's, for me anyways, it's pretty hard to argue that he's not an attractive man, okay? Even today, at age 56, with his formerly, long 80s hair locks completely gray, he's still got it, I think. So, when you've been following a band for 25 years and fawning over its lead singer for all that time, let's just say a bit of a fervor built up. Which brings me to this past April. So, the band was on tour promoting a new album, but they were not going to be stopping in Detroit on that leg of the tour. So, Kim got us tickets through her work to a show in Chicago on April 26th. So, four of us, me, Kim, Sonia, and Candy, embarked on a Bon Jovi road trip, just like we had to New Jersey. We got into Chicago a couple hours before the show started, and we were getting set up in the hotel room, and Kim mentioned for the first time that our seats were pretty good for the show. They were in the front row, not the front row of the main floor, like right by the stage, but the front row of the side section of seats, close to the stage. So definitely the best seats we've ever had. So we get to the show, and everything's great, and we're super excited, and the show starts, and we're in our element, and it's just like 1993 again, and we're screaming and having a good time. We knew from past experience that there's a point in the show where Jon Bon Jovi leaves the stage and walks down a pathway and goes out into the audience to sing a song from the audience. So we're sitting there in our front row, and we start to see a bunch of arena staff and security guards start to cluster around this pathway that's right in front of us, the pathway in between where the side of the main floor and us. And all of a sudden it dawns on us. Jon Bon Jovi, our idol, our crush since our teenage years, is going to be walking right past us on this pathway, right in front of us on his way to sing in the audience. We were losing our minds. With the anticipation that was building up was 25 years worth of anticipation. So he disappears from the stage, and we're waiting for him to come out, and he finally emerges, and when he finally comes out, like I said, we just absolutely lost our minds. We're screaming, we're crying, we're shaking. Kim's yelling, you guys, oh my God, we love you. Sonia's going, you guys. I'm slapping Sonia on the back of the arms because I'm so excited. He's walking down this pathway and he's greeting, he's doing the rock star thing. He's greeting everybody as he walks down, and everyone was reaching their arms out, and we were right there. So, some people got high fives, some people got handshakes. We all made bodily contact with him. And it was the most exciting moment of our Bon Jovi career. And we got to experience it a second time when he walked back. He sang a song. We didn't even know what he sang. We didn't even know what he was doing over there. He walked back again, and we got to experience it a second time. And because it was 2018 and not 1993, we captured the whole thing on video. And we were up, when we got back to the hotel, we were up to the wee hours of the morning just watching the footage over and over again. It was great. Whether your idol is an author or an actor or an athlete or a politician or a rock star, not everyone gets to get that close. And it's pretty thrilling when you do. And to be able to share that moment with two of your best friends of 25 years, that's even better. For Kim and Sonia and me, the years of concerts aren't about the music or even about John Bon Jovi and his tight leather pants. It's about tradition and a connection maintained even as friendships and life evolve and change. And that's the most rock star thing of all. Thank you. Keep it going for Sarah, everyone.
Can I touch your Bon Jovi hand later? Oh, yeah, good. All right, please welcome our next storyteller, Josh Steiner.
All right. So, my story begins around the time I began being alive. Maybe 5 years old or so. My mom and dad were just living, and my dad had developed a great new cocaine habit. And he needed a way to share this with me and my mother, and he didn't know how. So eventually he figured it out. Physically and mentally abused both of us as much as he could. It's not that bad, don't worry. I had shoes thrown at me, my mom was put down and all sorts of weird at games. But so we got out of there pretty quick. Divorce, all that terrible stuff. He could never stay out of prison too long. So I kind of had definitely had that void, like that father figure, all those first formative years of my life. And I guess the one thing he gave us was kind of music, because my mom always kind of listened to the same music he did, which was stoner rock, Pink Floyd, the grunge of the 90s, Live, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, all that good stuff. So after him, it was kind of just my immediate family on my mom's side. We never really saw much of his side. And my mom's side, including her, she's one of four. So I had my mother, her two sisters, and my uncle. And then the only marriage was one more aunt. Always kind of felt disconnected a little bit, where my bros at when I was growing up as a young man. And it was just kind of isolated and weird, because then even at my age, I only had one cousin who was 2 years older, and she was, we just had different tastes, it was just kind of weird. There was no hanging out a lot. So I was trying to mesh with them as best I could. I did the whole oh look, I can dance in high heels and wear makeup and be one of the girls, stuff like that. Didn't work out, obviously. So I was kind of just lacking a friend community, even in or a family community initially when I was young. I didn't know how to kind of mesh with them. And even in high school, it kind of got weird. I was a troubled child, as they say, with the ADHD. So I was on Ritalin and Adderall, so someone would come up to me and say, you're stupid. And I would just be oh my God, are they right? And I would just sit there and obsess over it because I'm on Adderall, so every little comment at me is just the end of the world, and it's just darkness all day. But I made it through somehow. Yeah, so high school was fun. Pretty good time. Experienced my first heartbreak and all that. And sticking to my grungy roots, I kind of picked up metal bands like System of a Down and all that. And a bunch of weird, dirty men screaming on stage. But it meshed really well. I loved it. You know, punk shows, all that good stuff. But it always felt like I was kind of missing that like direct in my life like father figure. So like I kind of superimposed like, look, that musician seems to have his shit together. He doesn't do cocaine to my knowledge and treat his children and wife poorly. So I'll follow him instead. I mean, it kind of worked. There's a good supplement for a dad for a while, but I don't know. Could have been worse for sure. Could have ended up like my father, just kind of been a douche. But yeah, I kind of always struggled meshing with the family. It was just like this thing I kind of let beat me up for a long time until, you know, the 20s, I guess. I kind of figured it out. It's like, oh yeah, that's just, you know, it's life. It's great. Yeah, and I think I looked too hard for like that, like who's the dad figure? Who should I admire when like the entire time? And obviously, you know, I could admire qualities of my family. I made it too much about like a gender. I think when I was a kid, it's like I need the dad, I need a man to kind of put me in line or something like that. So yeah, I ended up walking away with my friend. I mean, not without any dad skills, I guess, but you know. I think I developed like a lot of just you know, good talents from my family, like work ethic, love for cooking, you know, just a love for life, and it worked out great. I didn't have a direct father to admire or look up to, and how to be good, how to be bad, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and that's my story.
Storyteller does it all. But I'll just talk about one thing she does. She has an upcoming podcast called The Gray Area, where she's going to talk to people kind of in the thick of their creative pursuits, comedians, politicians, actors, anyone kind of pursuing a long-term, ambitious path. And she's my friend. So please welcome Amanda Brewington.
Hey everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. We're still awake, we're alive. Thank you for coming out this beautiful Thursday. So, for me, I heard admire. I was like, oh yeah, that's a doable topic. Admire. I like things. But then I sat down to write about it, and I was like, oh shit, I guess I am cynical and jaded. So it was really hard. I was like, oh, I admire that person, but yeah, that sounds like bullshit, or a Hallmark card, or that's, oh, but I love them, but they did that one thing, and it just got really negative, and then I started to think, maybe I should go back to therapy. Anyway, that's a different story for another time. But so what I did when I often get writer's block is I Googled it, the word admire. What does it mean, right? And Amy said no notes, so I wrote it on my hand. It's not in a notebook, it's a hand note, it's in no hand notes. So admire is to regard with respect or warm approval, or you can look at it with pleasure. So that's a tall order, so we'll go with the respect. We'll go with that. So we're gonna go to the second time I successfully used Tinder. So we'll paint the picture. It was a Friday night. I was out to dinner with 4 of my friends. 2 were a couple, and 2 were like best friends forever, and I was playing my often fifth wheel role in life. So they were talking about sports or microbiology or something else I don't know shit about. So looked down my phone, gonna look on Tinder. So I'm on it, I'm swiping, you know, like you do, and if you don't, good for you. It's awful. So I'm on it and I'm swiping and I'm like, oh, okay, this guy. It says travels often for work, Memphis is home. And I go, huh? Awesome. Because I had recently, to back up a little bit further, I had very recently, 2-3 months had been out of a 9-year relationship. So committal was not the goal, right? I was like, sweet, from out of town, Won't be here long. Score. So we match, to my luck, and it says, it tells you, I don't know, again, if you ever used Tinder, I'll let you guys know, I see some couples here, so I'm like, let me tell you. It tells you how far away you are from the person. So it's like less than 5 miles. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like we matched. Less than 5 miles. This is gonna work. So we start messaging, and it was I say it was my second successfully using Tinder, because it was the second time I talked to a human, for sure. Because sometimes with Tinder it's questionable. Sometimes it's like, is this a robot? Is this a real person? Or you'll get a dick pic, or like a DTF that's down to fuck. You might get that. But this was like, hi, how are you? Hello. And I was like, oh, a person, cool. And so we talked, and there were complete sentences, complete thoughts, all good things. And so he said, I'm only in town till tomorrow again. So I was like, all right, we talked for a little bit, and then my friends were boring, so I cut out, and I was like, yeah, let's meet up. He suggested to me at Jacoby's, because he had been there earlier having a burger, and I was like, another yes, because at the time I worked at a restaurant, and all of my coworkers hung out at Jacoby's. And when I started using Tinder, I was very honest with my mother and told her, don't worry, Mom, I'll only meet guys in public places with people I know. So I'm making Mom proud. I'm meeting them at Jacoby's. I know my coworkers are gonna be there, and I know the bartenders, so if shit gets weird, I'll be cool. So, show up at Jacoby's, and my coworkers are there in the corner by the jukebox, dressed in restaurant outfits, like they are. And I just walk in, and they're like, hey, Amanda, what's up? You're night off on a Friday. What are you doing here? And I'm just like, oh, I just came in for a drink, because what if he doesn't show up, right? I don't want to be a total loser. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm just here to have some drinks. So I sit down with my friend Kurt, and we're sitting there, and we're drinking, we're doing shots, whatever. And then I get this message, my phone vibrates, and it's the guy, and he says, you're sitting with a bunch of dudes. And I said, yep, sure am. Was it a test? Fuck yeah, it was. I said, hey, you want to talk to me? Gotta come over here. So he does, and I said, don't worry, we'll just pretend we're old friends. So he walks up, and we both kind of do that thing, when you meet people that you haven't met in real life, yeah, it's you, hey, and I'm like, Chris, hey, we hug, and my friend who I'm sitting with, Kurt, is like, you don't know this guy, do you? You don't know this guy. And I'm like, yeah, they were old friends. And he's like, oh, you didn't know that guy. Anyway, I push him off, he gets it, he's single too, so we get it. And so Chris sits down in courtesy, Kurt moves over. Kurt is my self-proclaimed gay Asian man, just so he's not jealous, I want to make that clear. So he moves over one, lets Chris sit down, and we just start talking, and we talk about life, and we talk about our jobs, and we talk about our exes, and we kind of just dive into it, because we only got one night, right? And we hit it off. And not in a passionate, romantic, oh, this is the guy I'm gonna marry way, but just a cool friend. And so we talk until the bar closes, and he's like, hey, I got a room at this very nice hotel downtown. And I said, I have not seen the inside of that hotel. I'll go. So I go, and I'm in my 30s, and he's in his 30s, and we're responsible adults, and things happen, and again, make your mom proud. We're not going to talk about the details of that. But anyway, I wake up in the morning, and I go to the bathroom, and I come out of the bathroom, and he has laid all of my clothes on the bed. Laid out for me to get dressed in them. And some people might think that's the Amy's face, and some people might think that's weird. But I was like, that is so nice, all my shit was in a ball on the floor. Now I don't have to be that girl, excuse me. He did that, and I was like, that is so sweet. And so then I get dressed, and he walks me to my car, which is half a block away, and totally unnecessary, but I don't know what he's heard about Detroit. So he walks me to my car, and we just have a little kiss, and he's like, oh, I gotta get your phone number, we should talk. And I was like, okay. And so we do, and we continue to talk for a while. Very early on, he says, I travel a lot for work, I'm recently divorced, I'm not looking for anything super serious. I said, neither am I. And so he says, I have girls in other cities that I see, and I was like, I'm in, I'll be a Detroit girl. Totally in. And so for a year, this went on. He came to Detroit, we hang out. I went to Grand Rapids, Columbus, New York. Got to stay in Manhattan. band paid for it, you know? So he's an audio production guy. He was on tour with a band at the time. It was a very well-known band that sold out Ford Field for 2 nights. So, hey, he's doing pretty good. You know, making mom proud. So, this went on for a while. And it was like an adult relationship. And it was like open-ended and respectable. And about a year into it, he said, you know, I'm going to start dating someone exclusively. I like this woman. She lives in Europe. I'm a waitress in Detroit. Please, I get it, right? Not mad. But it was like so respectful and so honest. And I admired that it didn't get fucking weird. It was honest and open, and we all know our place in the world. And that, to this day, 33 years old, is one of like the best relationships and healthy relationships I think I've had. Don't know what that says about my life choices. We'll handle that in therapy, but thanks for listening.
Living the dream, being the dream also, because you're a catch. Our next storyteller is a musician, actor, and comedian. You can check him out in the movie Make Believe, his full-length movie for free on thegreatduke.com, and also Addiction Disposition, his experimental electronic punk band on any music streaming service. Please welcome Bobby Lagerstrom.
So this story is about my ex-girlfriend, Ashley, okay, and how I admire her tenacity and her communication skills. So a little backstory, I was dating Kayla for 3 years. We were high school sweethearts, but when I went to U of M, we kind of grew apart from each other, and I broke up with her 2 days before my birthday, just to show her that I'm still in charge. So Ashley and I, we had mutual friends. We went to the same college. We saw each other more, so naturally we gravitated toward each other. So 2 days after I broke up with Kayla, Ashley initiates birthday sex, which is pretty cool. But then afterwards, she tells me that she wants to take a break as to not seem too overtly sexual. So I admire her honesty. Sure, I'm a little upset, but at least we established we're together. So this is the orgy story, part of the story. So, 2 weeks later, I throw a party for no reason other than the chance to hook up. So I invite 10 to 15 of my friends over, and the clock strikes midnight. So Kayla, Ashley, me, and my friend Shorty, who is inexperienced sexually, and my friend Red, who is a redheaded virgin. We go upstairs to smoke a bowl and chill out. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how does one suggest an orgy? Well, when there was a lull in the conversation, Ashley says, want to have an orgy? And so I'm getting some mixed emotions in my head, like, oh man, this girl wants to have an orgy, and oh man, this girl wants to have an orgy. But and then everyone else is kind of taken aback from the question, but everyone's drunk, high, and a little horny, so they're in. So we go downstairs into the main floor in this little room with hardwood floors and a gray futon. And you're probably also asking yourself, why not just stay in your room? Well, I'm a little bit of a clean freak, so a gangbang on my bed doesn't sound very sanitary to me. So we pair off. Okay, so Shorty and Ashley are on the floor. Me, Kayla, and Red are on the futon. Okay, I'm rocking the missionary position, nothing too fancy. Red is on his side, for lack of a better word, fingering my ex's clit. Okay, so he's like my little assistant. Okay, 3 minutes later, Ashley yells, "Switch!" Like we're square dancers. So I thought that the man was supposed to be taking charge of the situation, but I didn't want to mess up the flow of the orgy, so I'm glad that she at least had the confidence to know what she's doing. So Shorty and I switch. So my 2 best friends are having sex with my ex, and I am having sex with the person who I'm seeing. And when I penetrate, she does like the Titanic thing to my chest, like the steamy window, which I thought was kind of cute and romantic at the time. And then 3 minutes later, another switch. Okay, so at this point, it seems like she's going for quantity over quality. And like it also feels like a performance-based reviews, like I'm gonna get some kind of assessment at the end of this. Now, if you recall, it's been 2 weeks since I've had sex, which is a long time for a 20-year-old who just got out of a long-term relationship. So a couple pumps into my ex, and I'm like Old Faithful. There's a puddle on the futon. My work here is done. I am finished. Okay? So, you know, I don't want to go back in. You're probably saying, you're 20, you know, why don't you just jump back in? Well, you know, I'm hosting a party. I want to tend to my guests. I want to make sure everyone's happy. But I also don't want to be rude and leave the room. So I sit like in the corner of the dark room, like, you know, I don't know what proper orgy etiquette is. So like I'm just kind of like sitting there waiting. But shortly thereafter, me, Shorty, and Ashley leave the room. Okay? And it's funny because they don't close the door all the way, so like the door's kind of ajar, so you can see like Red and Kayla kind of hanging out, doing their thing, you know, still after everyone leaves. Which is cute, because they do end up together, they do end up dating, so that's a happy part of the story. But it turns out that Ashley was mad that I finished from my ex, which you know, I admire her honesty and like her, you know, willing to communicate that with me, but also, she suggested the orgy, and besides, I'm stressed from all the switching. And, you know, Kayla's vagina was familiar, you know, it's like a beacon guiding me home. You know, like it was familiar ground. But, you know, the next day it was great because, you know, we actually went back in the room where it happened. We went to ground zero and we were like joking about it. Like she was joking about it like it was no big deal, you know. And I admire, you know, that she can joke about something that's life-changing, like an orgy, like it's no big deal. But, you know, it's not all great. A couple months later, things aren't going well. She confesses her love for me, but I also found out that she cheated on me. So, you know, at the time, I'm emotionally dependent and I have an anxious attachment style. And she gets into a fight with me about how I'm not emotionally invested and I'm not communicating well with her. Which is rich because she cheated on me and she told me that she loves me first. And I waited because I actually wanted to mean it. That's not a joke. So we digress into how we're dependent on each other and how we're depressed together. We're two people who hate our lives, but are also making the other person's lives worse. And then she tells me that she has thoughts of suicide. Yeah, which makes me uncomfortable. And if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, try dating that. That's no good. So I suggest that we break up because I feel like you should have to love yourself before you even attempt to love someone else. She is not happy, well, less happy. She's definitely less assured at this point. And basically, I admire her like willing to say that and be like honest with me that she has those kind of thoughts, but I'm not a fan of her manipulating me and guilting me into staying with her. I mean, I'm a dumb and horny 20-year-old, you know, and if the orgy story gave you any idea of what kind of person I was back then, you can see that I'm not into well-thought-out ideas. So a couple months later pass, and I've had it. I finally decided to stick up for myself, and I break up with her via John Deere letter. So I go to my college's computer lab, and I type up this 4-page letter, and I just let my true feelings fly. I just say all the things that have been on my mind that I haven't had the courage to say to her in person. And I print it off and I put it in a Meijer bag along with all the gifts that she's given me and hang it up on her doorknob because I have no balls at the time. So, you know, we all struggle with communication. You know, like no one's perfect. We all have our own ways of doing it, and we try to do our best in the moment. You know, she was manipulative and upfront. I was avoidant and an asshole. But I do admire her for at least communicating and being honest with me, even if it wasn't the healthiest of ways. Because she also taught me that out of a bad experience can come a good one. Thank you guys, that's my story.
How's everyone doing? Still with us? Still doing good? Woo! Yeah! Alright, we have a couple more storytellers for you tonight, and before we go on, I do want to say that you're watching this show and you find yourself wanting to come up here and tell a story yourself, we can do that. This is a monthly show, and our next show is August 16th, and the theme is home. If you would like to be in a show, you can just talk to me afterwards, or you can send an email to let's just say at gocomedy.net. Other than that, let's get back to our storytellers. Our next storyteller is a stand-up comic from Lansing. Please welcome Rashad here.
Thank you so much, you guys. How are we doing tonight? Nice. I picked the bad. It's a bad choice. It's a White Russian, but it's gonna help me tell the story. It's fine. It's called The Dude. It fascinates me. This is the most fascinating thing about America. Yeah, you can use a movie character to enforce alcoholism on people. How fascinating is that? I love it. So a little bit about myself. I came to the United States 5 years ago for school. I was like, Hannah Montana is great, I need to go there. Disney Channel is awesome. So I came here and I found out that Fruity Pebbles is a cereal and people wear Crocs. And that's when I wanted a time machine to go back. But it's great. I think a part of me wanted to be wise because I've always been a shithead. And I want to have more stories. Like I do comedy and I see like older guys on stage and they just have lived so much life. They have so many stories to tell. And I'm just envious because I don't have anything to talk about. I'm a young, dumb dude who's like, I have some Tinder stories and I stub my toe every day. That's all the stories I have. So I envy those people. And if somehow I can get all those experiences without age, that's all I want. So when I came here, I was an international student. So I had a lot of friends. So like last year around summertime, I just hated life. I disliked everything. I was missing home way too much. My depression period just was way too long. And it's like, this is the right time to move to Ferndale. So I moved to Ferndale last summer and I found a job. And it sounded like a great job, but then I did it and it turned out to be a door-to-door marketing scam. So I hated life even more and nothing was good at that time. I had no friends, I was in a new town. So I started hanging out at coffee shops. And I did not know how to talk to people. But I kept on hanging out there, just maybe I will be able to make some friends. I just had that hope in me. So one time I was hanging out there at one of the coffee shops in Florida, and I was inside, and on the patio, there was this old dude just yelling at 3 people sitting in the patio. So I ran out there, and I noticed he was yelling at those 3 people, like in their face, like the Babadook, you know, just yelling. just yelling at them about like cars and how this generation sucks. And I don't know if you guys like believe in like love at first sight. Like I don't know about that, but like anger at first sight. That's how I felt. Like that was the chemical reaction inside me. So I was fascinated about like how he just hated everything. I wanted to talk to him. So I kept on hanging out there more. And one day he came up to me because I was reading a book. So he asked me about the book. So he started talking to me. And I know at this point it just seems like I'm confused, but I'm a straight guy, but I think at that point, that old man yelling at a group of 3 was just like all I wanted in my life. So I talked to him more, and I noticed something about him. He told me a lot of stories. Like a lot, like he had seen a lot of things in life. I found out that his name is Scott, and he was 50 years old. He rode a bike. One time he served Gary Coleman when he was a busboy. His dad died smoking too many cigarettes, and a lot of other things, you know? And he just hated everything. He was just like, it seemed like he took a Bukowski novel, tore it up, and lit it on fire and cooked breakfast over there. Just like with Depeche Mode playing on the background. Like he had fucking, and that fucking turned me on. And I went back home every evening after talking to him, and I just took off my shirt and I stood in front of the mirror thinking, like, what was that about? Was America happening? Like, what was happening? You know? So a month into hanging out with him, I find out that he just never shuts the fuck up. You know? Keeps on talking. And a month later, he opened up to me and he told me that he used to be a heroin addict. He kept on talking, not because he was a preacher or something in his previous life. He was a heroin addict. And he overcame that, and then he was an alcoholic for some time. And then he overcame that and was abandoned by the rest of his family, except his mom. But he lived through that. And he told me about that. And then he repeated the same stories that he told me the month prior. Again and again. Not even knowing that I had heard those stories 37 times. And that's when I realized that he does not have a lot of brain cells that he should have. So that was the main thing about him. And then a lot of times he had trouble talking to women because he would not shut the fuck up. And nobody liked him because of that. So this one time we went to Royal Oak. I tried being his wingman. I'm not a good wingman. And at the club, he was a good-looking dude, slim, he had a beard. We looked like Harold and Maude together. There was something like that going on. So women would come up to him at the club, and he would keep on talking to them, and they would just shoo away after 20 minutes. So this happened 3 times at the club. And at 1 in the morning, we just went to the patio, and I tried talking to him about why he should not talk that much. And while talking to me, he takes out a nail clipper and starts clipping his nails on the patio. And right then, another woman comes up and she tries to talk to him because she's laughing way too hard about what he's doing. And then the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "You look like my mom." And then that was the end of the night. That was the end of it. He's never gonna get laid. And there's not a lot of things I admire in life. I'm gonna get kissed on the forehead a lot of times. I'm gonna be inside a lot of women, actually. But Scott is always gonna have a special place in my heart because he went through all those things and still lives a life and still has a lot of stories to tell. Thank you, that's my story.
Hell yeah, keep going for a shot, everyone. Thank you. All right, we've come to that but again, this is a monthly show, so feel free to come back next month. Our last storyteller, she's a public speaking consultant and researcher who uses stories as a way of understanding the metaphors that direct our lives. People are complicated, but to Arthi, stories are a way of simplifying and sharing moments that make us, us. So here to bring us home, please welcome Arthi Chandra.
When I first heard the theme for tonight, Admire, I had to think about that. Not because there's not a lot of people I admire, but when it comes to admiring people, I get fucking obsessed with them. There are people in this world, in this life, that I find absolutely fascinating, right? And not because of necessarily excellence, but I guess in a John Mulaney kind of way, I wonder, what the fuck is the big deal about them, right? Like, what makes them so popular, so brilliant, so enamoring, right? See, I can tell you're like, what's the big deal? And so I'm gonna tell you about some people I consider to be big deals. And by big deals, I mean I was just really, really obsessed with them. I was just so absolutely curious as to who they were. If I was to take something from Native American Indians as an Asian Indian, it would probably be the concept of the dream catcher. Not necessarily for the thing that you hang over your bed to collect bad dreams, but as a dream catcher, trying to collect the dreams of all the people I meet to try to triage whether maybe I want one of them. So the first person this happened with was Dr. Sanjay Gupta. You may be wondering, why Dr. Sanjay Gupta? That good-looking marijuana activist on CNN? The same gentleman who was a journalist, who got in trouble with the journalist community, specifically for performing a surgery while trying to report an incident. Yeah, this man created an open skull surgery on a battlefield when he was in the middle of researching the devil dogs. He's a cool dude. He's also an alumni of my high school, Novi High School. The thing about coming from a high school is that you like to know who your alumni are, right? You want to know exactly who you're measuring up against. But when you're measuring up against Dr. Sanjay Gupta, another Indo-American in your community, things get a little more difficult. So I decided I had to meet the guy. And when he wrote the book, Chasing Life, I was able to do just that. He had a book tour, and he went to, I'm gonna age myself, a Borders around Clawson. And I was there because I know what a Borders is like. When you meet famous people, you have to come up with a strategy. First, you have to pick up your target. Secondly, you need to plan. 2, you have to execute the plan. And number 4, you gotta be cool. I was none of those things, except well planned. So when I went up to the Borders and I saw that I was one of the only people there obsessed with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I'll have you know that he noticed as well. When I gave him the copy of his book that I had purchased ahead of time and asked him to sign it, I also took this moment to take a picture, but asked him a very important question. What happened? How did you go from Novi High School to becoming Dr. Sanjay Gupta? Turns out he had received a White House Fellowship. And in receiving the White House Fellowship, he was able to develop a network of people who put him on places like CNN. Okay, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I see you. I still have that book, I still have that autograph, and I'm right now considering reading it sometime soon. I've gotten all the answers I needed. Dr. Sanjay Gupta was not the first person I had hunted down. No, he was far from it. The second person I hunted down was a gentleman named Stephen Colbert. Now what the fuck was the big deal about Stephen Colbert? He wasn't even himself on television. He played the role of a conservative pundit. And you know what? He wasn't actually conservative. I went to the Daily Show, or to the Colbert Report, not the Daily Show. That would have aged myself even further. But I went to the Colbert Report, and I had the opportunity to engage, not take a picture, but engage the man who had performed at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, had the audacity to say the things he did to George Bush. And finally, created the Colbert Report, a very popular show on Comedy Central. So when I saw the chance, it was at the Q&A at the beginning of the show, I took it. I was the first person to raise my hand because I learned from school. You should always be the first person to raise your hand if you want your teacher to pay attention to you. Otherwise, they won't because you're short. So with Stephen Colbert, I raised my hand in the air. He made eye contact with me. He pointed in my direction. I realized he was talking to me. I asked him, Stephen Colbert, if you were able to do the White House Correspondents' Dinner for the Obama White House, what exactly would you talk about? Because I thought you'd said everything already. Turns out you wanted to talk about Guantanamo Bay, and how at Guantanamo Bay we were still going through many trials and tribulations that were un-American, something we would never see again in American history. The idea of people in cages really bothered him. And so that was the story of the first time I saw Stephen Colbert. The second time I saw Stephen Colbert, he was at his new post, The Late Show. What's the big deal about Stephen Colbert being able to move up to better shows? I took the opportunity to ask him another question. I said, what do you think about Larry Wilmore taking your previous spot? He said, first of all, nobody takes anybody's spot on television. That's not how it works. And secondly, I think he's doing a very good job. Okay, Stephen Colbert, I see you. You're diplomatic, and you're suave, and charismatic, and you wrote a book called I Am America, and So Can You. I did read that book, and that's why I am American, and so can you. Now the final person I met, and wondered what the big fucking deal was it about them, was Mindy Kaling. Now me and Mindy Kaling, we have some things in common. If I had visual aids, I would show you a picture of Mindy Kaling. I am a squishier version of her. I'm also probably a little angrier than she is. She keeps that to herself and on her Twitter account. So when it came to Mindy Kaling writing her book, Why Not Me? A question I ask every fucking day of my life. As I was reading this book and as I was talking to her waiting in line, I had to think through my question. And my question was something I had actually prepared and planned ahead of time. I printed it out, in fact. I gave her a copy of my resume. And I said to her, if you're willing to hire me, I would love to work for you. She asked me exactly what it is I do. I said I was a public speaking consultant. Turns out she didn't need that. And that is the story of how I interacted with Mindy Kaling. Engaged, planned, and wasn't really that cool. What have I learned from these experiences? What I've learned from these experiences is that if there is nothing else to gain from people more famous than you somehow, it is that they're actually really hardworking. They're very charismatic. They're very kind. They're very patient. They're all the things that I possibly am not unless you catch me on a good day. So when it comes to who I admire and the dreams that I catch, I'm hoping that it's one part of every single one of them. Whether it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta's tenacity and connectedness, whether it's Stephen Colbert's ability to double speak such that people don't actually know where he stands on the political spectrum, and finally Mindy Kaling's amazing wardrobe, beautiful presence, she has soft hands. If one thing I understand from Mindy Kaling is that it's possible for someone like me to be on a stage like this and be able to share my story to other people, and hopefully, maybe someday become one of those people that people admire, or at least get mildly obsessed with. Thank you.
And give all of our storytellers tonight another round of applause. Thank you so much. And give yourself a round of applause because it's a wonderful audience. The bar is still open if you want to have more drinks. If not, drive safe and have a great night. Thank you.